I'm curious, when was the last time you took a moment to think about your happiness? And specifically, your happiness as it relates to this hobby of comic book collecting. I've recently been saying that I feel like I'm living my best life, and it's honestly true. It is a true statement, and I've spent a little time thinking about why I feel that way. And part of what sparked me thinking about this is that I had a conversation with a friend recently who is going through some really tough times, and they are trying to figure out what it is that makes them happy, or more importantly, why they seem to be unhappy. And that's caused me to look internally. And as a result of those conversations, I thought that it might not be a bad time to actually create a video to kind of put some things out there for you all to consider. If you're interested in hearing a little more, I want to encourage you to stay tuned for the video. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, we're going to spend a little time talking about your happiness and also my happiness as well. If you've been following my channel for the last maybe year or so, you have probably heard me make the statement that I am living my best life. And it is honestly true. I feel like I'm living a dream life right now. And that doesn't mean that things are perfect, not in any way, shape, or form, but there are a lot of things that are going right for me. And as I mentioned, I have a friend that is struggling with some things right now. They're in a phase of their life where things aren't headed in the right direction, and they are generally unhappy. And so I spent a lot of time talking with this person, trying to understand maybe what's going on, to try to figure out if there's a way that I could help. And again, those conversations led me to create this video. And I was recently reading an article on entrepreneur.com that spoke a little bit about happiness. And one of the things that the article pointed out is that happiness is not necessarily about money, but money puts you in a position to be able to invest in your happiness by being able to give you some experiences that might generate some happiness. But as I was reading this article, I was having all kinds of epiphanies. And one of the things that I've realized is that through this hobby of comic book collecting, it has allowed me to have a lot of happiness in my life. One of the ways that it has created that for me is that it's given me an opportunity to interact with a lot of people around the world, a lot of people that love comics the way that I do. And it's that interaction that has generated a lot of happiness for me. And I am an introvert by nature, but I think humans generally benefit from interaction. And I think that, again, having these wonderful conversations with people that just love comics the way that I do, and maybe in a slightly different way than I do, just the conversations and the interactions has enriched my life in so many ways. This article on entrepreneur.com also spoke about investing in oneself, investing in bringing one's creative pursuits to life. Again, another huge source of happiness for me is the fact that we are working on isolation. We have created a comic, which is really cool, right? I am not a fiction writer. I'm certainly not a comic book artist, but I have, as a result of this community and this channel, been able to create a comic and release it for people to be able to enjoy. And the response has been fantastic. That is enriching. That has brought me a tremendous amount of happiness. And so, as I think about this hobby, as I think about the cool things that I have an opportunity to do, I find many of those things to be enriching and fulfilling. And that's not to make mention of just being able to buy and read comics and just being able to organize them and sort them and all that kind of stuff. All of that stuff brings happiness into my life. And the question that I have for you all is, what are you doing as it relates to this hobby to bring some happiness into your own life? We are headed potentially into a phase for the next couple of years where comic book values won't necessarily be where they have been for the last couple of years. And a lot of folks found some happiness in seeing the values of their comic book collections increase. They've found happiness in being able to buy comics and see those comics go up in value and be able to sell those comics to make money, to be able to do some really cool things with. But with where the economy is, with where inflation is, there is the possibility that those same sources of happiness will not be there for us potentially for the next couple of years. So where will the happiness come from? That is essentially the question. Where is it going to come from? Because it may not come from the values that we've seen, the euphoric feeling that we've seen and experienced over the last couple of years. And one of my big fears is that we have seen a massive influx of people over the last couple of years because of the pandemic and because of the values going up that have basically found their way to this hobby. My fear is that potentially that's you, and potentially you're not prepared for what's going to come next. And I don't want to see people leave this hobby. I want every single person that has found their way to this hobby or found their way back to this hobby to stay for the long term. So to that point, we might need to start thinking about, what is our new source of happiness? Maybe it's reading comics. Maybe it's just organizing and sorting. Maybe it's cleaning and pressing comics. Maybe it's creating a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or getting involved in the Discord server. My point here is that find something within this hobby that makes you happy. Engage with the community because there is happiness there. Do not get burned out. Do not leave this hobby because there is so much that is to be found here. So again, just a little bit of a philosophical type of video. Some things were on my mind based upon the conversations with my friend, and I wanted to share some of my thinking with you all. Maybe it sparks a thought in you. And if it does, I definitely want to encourage you to leave your thoughts down in the comment section, because that way we get to all benefit from one another, which again is another form of community. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.